Hey everyone, I've got my friend Angela Foster from the UK coming on the show. We're going to talk shop, kind of just what's new in our world, how we can really improve our future self as I talk about how to fuel, train, and perform your best in life for now. But how about how you're going to be showing up to your life 20, 30 years from now, 10 years from now? It's all about what you do now. So, Angela, thanks for coming on to talk shop.
Hey Debbie, I love it. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me back on. It's nice to chat and connect across the pond. It's kind of
Yes,
late in the evening where I am here.
I
Well, I
know.
say late, it's kind of 5 p.m. and your day's just getting started.
It is. We're at 9:15 a.m.
Ah.
So I know your podcast, you're all about high performance and we're endurance athletes, high performing athletes. So what's kind of new in your world, what you've been learning a lot about the female cycle and biosyncing, but for men and women, because I was telling you, my male athletes want some attention too. So
Yeah,
what's
of
new in your
course.
world, how to really improve optimization and what's some hot topics that you've been diving into?
What have I been diving into? I guess this year I've been kind of diving in my community a lot into metabolism. I'm picking up actually what you said there about future self. That's an area that I just love, kind of positive psychology and really designing your life. I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I actually at the moment have a couple of teenage boys in the house, my boys, and then I have my daughter who's 10. And I think when you're growing up, you really think about who you want to be
Mhm.
in you can't, because you think anything's possible, right? And then in your 20s, you sort of feel like you're invincible. And I think when you hit your 30s, you're kind of like, maybe I need to like slow down a little bit, or certainly that's how I was. And then I think it's easy to forget as you get older that you can still continue to design your life. And
Mhm.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy's work
Yeah, I get his
on
emails.
your future self. Yeah, me too.
Love it.
And I think, and his books, I think, are incredible. I
Mhm.
feel really fortunate, actually. I got an advanced copy of his latest book, 10X is Easier Than 2X, that's coming out, and
Mhm.
really fascinating stuff. And having read Your Future Self and just a lot of other authors that talk about a similar thing, I've been diving into the psychology and the science of that. And one of the things he says is, your future self will be a lot different than you think you're going to be. And I think that people lose sight of that. And I think if you look back, one of the easiest ways to kind of approach this is to look back and think about who you were 10 years ago. And
Mhm.
probably you're quite different, right? You've come a long way. Your friendships may have changed. You've learned a lot. You've done different things in business. Maybe you've become an ultra endurance athlete and you weren't doing anything like that before. And I think it's so interesting when you look at this, because I think we can kind of get into our 40s and forget that we still have that ability to control to a degree, right? To design our life, to design our destiny. So
Mhm.
yeah, what about you? That's kind of interesting area for me.
Well, I'll tell people I got that future self thing from Benjamin Hardy. And so you can do, listeners, you can do a free online 30-day course if you go to, is it Benjamin Hardy? I'll find that link and put it in the show notes, but it's free and it's every day you have an assignment that takes 5 minutes to write. And it's a friend told me about it and I try to tell other people about it. But that is where I got to thinking about how do I want to be showing up in 10 years from now? And then you and I both lost our dads last year. And it's more watching my mom and watching her friends, they're all 80. How do I want to be living my life? And my husband's father's turning 90 this year. And I look at him traveling Europe and doing things. But when we retire, I don't want to be stuck not being able to move and have all these health problems that I listen to everyone have. So to me, Benjamin Hardy, great lesson to start thinking about how do you want to be showing up to life when you are retired. So when you're 70, 80, 90 years old. And so that kind of started me down that path of let's train for events and races now, but I should be more concerned about how I'm going to be aging and improving that aging process so I can travel the world when I'm 89 years old, not be stuck at
Mm.
home in a assisted living home.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think it's
Same here.
important.
And I think the concept of like making decisions from your future self as well, right?
Yeah.
And stepping into that most empowered version of you. Really interesting. Something that I do
Mm-hmm.
in my own programs with my clients. But I also think with longevity, longevity just means you want to live longer, but by how much? 6 hours, 6 days, 6 weeks, like 6 years? Like, what does that mean in reality? Because it's health span, I think, that we're looking at. And I think, looking at the different markers of aging is really important along the way. So that's something I'm doing. I'm doing a longevity project on myself this year. So it's all going to be coming out on my podcast quite soon. But at the moment, what I'm doing is just testing. I know you're a big fan of testing, not guessing.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. So I've done some hair mineral testing. I've done a glycan age, biological age test. I've just ordered a microbiome test. I've done some blood work. I've done some hormones with the Dutch test. I'm putting all this information together. I've also done some VO2 max testing, some kind of mobility and functional strength testing. And I'm designing a kind of 12-month program around how can I get, because I'm 47, and I think, how can I get into kind of the fittest shape that I can be ahead of when I eventually, this doesn't apply to the men listening, but for those women listening, like, how can I get into the best physical shape possible before I start to hit those sort of really hormonal changes? I know they're bubbling away underneath, but I'm not quite there yet.
Well, that's what, when I turned 50, I'm now 51, but you're almost, over a year ago, I turned 50. And that's what my goal was. Men and women, this applies to everyone. Once you turn 50, it's like the second half of your life. And how can I live my best life, my second half of my life? So as I was reaching 50, I had this big workout to do on my 50th birthday. It was strength and some plyometrics and doing hill repeats and a run. So I had all this planned. And so it was more, just got me thinking of, okay, like looking at your future self, but how can I perform my best as I get older, not live life thinking, oh, age, I'm getting older, I'm getting slower, I'm getting fatter, I'm losing muscle. So it's really embracing the aging process I talk about on the show all the time, but just testing and not guessing as you're doing, you're looking at all these labs and assessments of your age. So what type of, I don't know, looking at your age and biological age, is it scary to see that? I don't know. Somehow I've been kind of afraid to know what's actually there. Am I 1 or am I 61? Or am I 37?
I felt quite lucky, right? So I did mine, and I bought a 2-pack, because glycan age is a test that basically looks at it from a kind of inflammatory point of view. And it's looking at how your immune system, so it's this concept of inflammation, looking at glycans in the body and how quickly you're aging. And I bought a 2-pack because I was thinking this will be good, because then I can basically institute the changes and see what's happening. And then I got my test through, and it said I was age 20, which is like the youngest. So I was like, oh, okay. That was actually a pretty good result. Not all my results have been that good, should I say. But that one certainly was pretty nice.
Yeah. So you do look a lot younger than your age. So you look like you're maybe 20 something. So
I do not. I think Debbie's just being very nice and complimentary here.
But you are focusing on, I see on Instagram, your social media, you're doing a lot more heavy lifting. So how have you changed your way you're fueling, training, performing as you age up as a high charging, high performing individual?
Yeah. So for me, it's interesting, isn't it? When I look at the lifting and stuff. So I have been doing putting on a lot more muscle in preparation, because I think obviously muscle is an organ of longevity.
Yeah.
So that's something I've been working on. But I also, you were talking there about how we both lost our dads in the last sort of 12 months. And for me, having had mental health problems in the past, that was a big deal. And I think that I had to kind of, like working out in the morning, there's something methodical about lifting weights for me that helps create order in my brain. That's why I love it. But what I have noticed over time is, as you lift heavier and heavier and you're doing kind of less reps, is the strain on your nervous system is quite high. So I'm at the moment trying to balance that, because I think that you always crave more of what you do, right? So the more I lift, the more I crave to lift. And then I kind of put the cardio bit on the back burner. So I'm trying to kind of regain my focus there, because I think otherwise you can only, you can't just keep lifting heavier and heavier, right? At some point, you've got to find a different stimulus, I think, and just mix things up and periodize that training. So that's what I've been doing. But I do enjoy just working out first thing in the morning. I find it really sets the tone for my day. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was just recording a podcast yesterday. I'm trying to do these solo podcasts when it things I'm thinking about working on. And it was about your ideal day and how to start your day and how it ends up being, how to optimize your sleep to have the best day ever. Cause that impacts everything and how to manage your stress, but just that morning sunshine exposure. And I found some different articles and what Ben Greenfield talked about with us in our Key On coaching on, he writes in the past about the ideal day and how to start your day and that morning sunrise and sunshine. And I like to get up and work out. I know the best time of day when your body's better for more of a high intensity training is say 3:00 in the afternoon, 4:00, but I'm usually working. So for me, it's just get up and go is my type of workout. And then I like to move throughout the day. This new job working at a computer, standing here looking at the screen is a little different for me from a background of running my own fitness business and training clients and being in a gym, training clients to now standing at a computer is different. So I like to, I always thought of this during COVID. Breakfast, lunch, dinner means move times, not eat. So it's a good cue to go, okay, it's noon. It doesn't mean I need to eat lunch. It means get up, get off my butt, get outside, do some movement training. And there's all that research. I love the Huberman Lab series with Dr. Andy Gaplin, and I'm still listening to those 6 series, and they're about 3-hour long podcasts, so they take forever to listen to, but just how doing those 20-second burst training throughout the day, just get movement and energize, or running up your set of stairs, or wherever you live, you can go outside. But I like to get up and work out and get moving because or else I'm tired, I'm sluggish, or I just don't get my mind right. So yes, I agree. Waking up in the morning, I lift weights and then go for a run, or I take spin class once a week to work on some power. And then I just need to get outside. And I'm fortunate where I moved to is, I was just this morning running Torrey Pines to Del Mar and looking at the ocean. I saw some dolphins.
Beautiful.
It's just when the sun's coming up at 6:15 in the morning and we get to the gym at 5:30. So, my ideal day is getting up early and working out and getting lift and then go outside and get some fresh air. And then a few days a week, I do master swimming, which is an outdoor pool at lunchtime. And so that's another second workout of the day that I do 3-4 days a week. So I need that outdoor time in nature, fresh air, ocean, beach when I can.
Yeah.
Nature.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love, I don't live near the sea, but I live near forest. So going out walking with my dogs is, one of my favorite things. You can I just lose myself in nature or listen to a podcast. But the second workout of the day usually eludes me. It's something that I have in my head. And I remember listening to Robin Sharma saying, the second workout and the sort of magic of it. But I think I have 3 kids and school runs and sports clubs and athletics.
I don't have kids or pets, so
to get it in.
Yeah. But that's my mantra, the new me, since my adrenal exhaustion happened, which is my 10-year anniversary now on it. And it's more looking at less is more is not better. So, yes, should I move and get movement or exercise in throughout the day rather than doing it all at once in the morning? Or, is it ideal for me to just get up, do my workout and not, not do a lunchtime workout? It depends on the day. Even last night, I recorded this in my podcast. My ideal day was, how to wind down in my evening routine. But if it's more is not better, if you're trying to do all these different things in the day, like if you have kids and you have a dog and you have to do this and then dishes and laundry, and then it's like, now I'm stressed out. So does it defeat the purpose to do my evening routine if I'm trying to fit so much stuff in a day? I need to know when to take something away so it's not so cramped and trying to fit all these great health benefits into our day. And then we're just adding more stress. They become a stress rather than a benefit.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's the perpetual thing, isn't it, of getting the balance right?
Yeah, it is. And that's why I was trying to figure out a format to write out for my clients that I coach full time. And it's like, what is your ideal day? Let's write it out, example of what works best. And then do you have enough breaks? Because what I did in my previous life was living life as a race. I was doing too much, from trying to fit more time in the day, getting up earlier and earlier and still being going, say 4 a.m. till 9 at night. And that's what I think a lot of people do when you're trying to be healthy and you're trying these different lifestyle strategies to improve your sleep and recovery and repair. And then I'm exercising, and then you know, most people like you have kids and family and have to cook meals. And it's like, all right, am I doing too much of everything to really be healthy? Or just causing me adrenal
Stress.
dysfunction by trying to be this invincible
Yeah.
person, as we talked about at the beginning of the show? Are you trying to be invincible, think you're a superhero that you can pile on more and more to be healthy? As it
It's very
backfires.
true. I mean, you know, Andy Galpin, you were talking about that series on
Yeah.
Human, which I loved. And he's actually coming on my show in a few weeks' time. So I've been
Lucky
kind of
you.
digesting it all to then post some questions to him. And one of the things I really like that he talks about, in addition to his kind of 4 quadrants where you score yourself, is this concept of a wandering baseline that you want to avoid. And I think what you're describing there is the wandering baseline, right? Where you try to achieve everything. So now you are a little bit underslept, a little bit overstressed, a little bit less productive, a little bit overstretched in terms of work. Maybe you're overeating or undereating a little bit too much. Then you kick off at your kids, right? And he has this quadrant that he utilizes where you have to score a total of 10, which you'll have heard when you listen to them, right? And it's like, where are you in terms of your business? Or you could replace that with wealth, for example, in that category. If you think of a circle, and then you have relationships, you have fitness, and you have recovery. And the recovery should be at least half of the fitness. But that's not, by definition, with a score of 10 is not intended to be equal. And so when you start to score into those categories, what you realize is that to avoid that wandering baseline, you're always going to put something more into a bucket, because I don't think it's intended to be 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, right?
Yeah.
So then a lot of people will say, particularly in their 40s, they're kind of really progressing, they've got really good strides in their career. They may put, I find with clients, they'll put a 5 into that business or wealth bucket. And then they're allocating the others. And then it's like, oh my God, you know, does that feel wrong if I do that? Is that selfish to my family? Is it? But I actually think that when you look back, we were saying, look back at your past to see how different you've become. You will have noticed that when you were at school, this is exactly how it worked for you. If you were in an exam period, loads and loads of energy was going into one bucket, right? And you would sacrifice your social life for a bit, and then you'd pull away from that, wait for the results, and you'd spend time with friends and family and hang out. And I think we try, particularly as a parent, you try and juggle all of them. And that's when you kind of fall into that trap of the wandering baseline. So I think actually understanding that you can have everything you want, but maybe not everything at the same time, and just periodizing your year is one of the best things you can do, to look across the 12 months and not just periodize your training program, but periodize elements of your life, you know? So like now I'm going all in, I've got a launch going on, for example, I'm going to really put my efforts into this project, and come the summer, I'm going to take some time off, I'm going to hang out with my family, my kids, and they're going to get my energy. And I think that's actually almost a better way. And then you don't feel like you're constantly juggling a million things.
Well, I think that is a good example of how entrepreneurs, practitioners, and people in our space, I look at Cynthia Thurlow as I talk to her, and it's like, how do you keep up with that schedule? Because if I'm trying to help people, I have to practice what I preach. And if I'm pushing the envelope every day and doing so much, am I just going to cause myself adrenal exhaustion and burnout and breakdown again, and trying to make a difference to follow my purpose and my passion and, you know, reach your mission? I think you do need to, as a leader in whatever community you're in, you need to really walk the talk and know how to push pause, reset, and reboot your system, and know, okay, I need to set boundaries because I'm doing too much, and I need to unplug, disconnect, so I can connect with my own family, with my own self, and know when to, you know, take summer off. But I think a lot of people in our society are just doing too much, and trying to, in our community on biohacking and everyone into longevity and exercise endurance, we're just putting too much in the day. And I think it's important going back to, you know, doing all your testing you're doing and figuring out, how can I be my best self now and my best future self? And I think figuring out those tools and, you know, doing, like you're talking to Dr. Andy Gaplin about the buckets, and that's so individualized. That's why I think it's good to work with the coach to figure out, you know, where should my energy go? And what's the saying, where my energy goes, my something, what is it?
Where energy goes, focus flows.
Yeah, focus flows. I just had that in my little manifestation book I've been working on at night. But anyways, it's just such a big topic, because I think it's carving out your day and how to be your best self as an athlete, a spouse, parent, you know, employee, boss, whatever you do, I think there's so much we're trying to fit. And that's kind of what I do. The holistic method is coaching all these elements, but when am I piling on too much of this and trying to try too hard?
Yeah, for sure. And what did Cynthia say? I'm curious. I remember interviewing her a while back. How does she fit in everything that she's doing? Because she has kids as well.
Yeah, she's kids. I mean, she's good of saying no to things. And I know she's not going to, for example, KetoCon is what I was asking her, because we hung out last year at the conference and had dinner with Paleo Valley. It was super fun. But she's traveling and she's different conference. That's the point, because they have conferences. These top people, they speak at every weekend. You could be gone. And that's when you're with your family. And I always wonder how people survive, but I think you have to learn how to say no when you're that big influencer and carve out time with your family and go to vacation. But, is it good to work nonstop 6 months and then just have August that you're with your family? Or I don't know. Or is it once a month? I have one weekend that I'm making sure I have all my energy focusing on my family and myself. So I don't know what's best, but that's the personalization of it.
Yeah, I think that's the personal bit, because kids grow so quickly, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I know.
It's like, and each year they're different. I think that's the biggest thing, is I don't want to miss it. Yeah. So it's tricky.
Yeah, be with them. So with it, like, how do you get more exercise in with like doing new adventures with your family on a weekend? If you have time to do with your kids and being out in nature, how do you think it's to stay fit and healthy as a high performer with your family? Do you get them involved in doing exercise or going for hikes or new adventures?
We do. So my kids do love going hiking, and I think that's something we do. They love to swim. But I think what's difficult, and sometimes we'll just go and we'll have like last Sunday, we were just mucking around playing football together, right? And we will do that sometimes, or we'll have a game of tennis.
Soccer in the US. The rest of the world
in
is
the
football.
US, yes. We weren't we're not playing American football. Yeah, we were playing soccer, just kicking a ball around, having fun. But I think it varies. Again, personalization, which is something I know you really focus on. It varies from family to family, because my kids are very sporty. So we don't actually, and then my husband and I like to work out or go for a run and things like that. So actually doing it as a family together is much harder. That isn't always the way we spend time together, because my daughter is really into gymnastics. She's in the squad. She is like really into her netball and her hockey. My son's into his rugby, his hockey, his swimming. So they're doing different things. And so the reality is that a lot of my conversations and times with my kids are in the car as their taxi driver.
Yeah.
And that involves more sitting than I would want, but I want to be a part of their lives and watch them play and things like that. And it would be, I feel wrong of me to say, no, we've got to cut back. We can't do those things because we're going to do some stuff as a family. So we try and fit in the family stuff on top. I think holidays, we call them, vacations, you call them, are really important. I really genuinely do, because I think that's the one time. And I think, what's really interesting is our entire family looks back on this time 3 years ago, March 2020, with so much love. We just loved it. It was scary, and we felt for the people who were sick, but we literally, everyone had to button down the hatches here in the UK. It was super, super strict lockdown. And the kids just remember it was beautifully sunny, really warm weather, just hanging out as a family. And we read books together. We watched TV together. We would go out for a 1 hour a day that we were allowed and take a picnic and go with our dogs. But we just hung together. Do you know what I mean? It was so we
Wow, they only let you outside they had guidelines.
We were only allowed out for an hour a day.
Oh my gosh, I'd freak out.
Wow. Well, fortunately, we could spend time in the garden. We actually ended up spending a bit more time outside, but the idea was that you didn't. I mean, people were quite serious at that point, they were wearing masks. It was
3 years ago. Yeah. It was St. Patrick's Day, middle March 2020. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I remember it well, because my daughter's birthday party was cancelled at the very last minute because you couldn't host it. Yeah. So yeah.
So that two things there. So I find kids working out more at the gym, especially it's kind of cool. 6 a.m. I see these kids all working out. Adults too. I'm seeing this problem. I don't know if it's since the pandemic, but do you find don't know how to communicate anymore? Because they work out with headphones on. Everyone's got those little ear pods on at the gym. And I just remember the days people used to chit chat, shoot the crap, to say, hey, to banter back and forth. And now everyone is like on their phone looking at whatever social media or podcasts or whatever they're looking at. And then they have music on or listening to something, and no one's communicating anymore. I feel this sadness at the gym and seeing kids and adults, people of all ages, not knowing how to communicate anymore. So do you
Yeah.
feel that has changed when you go to the gym? Do people
I
talk
do.
more?
And I think, you know what? I'm guilty of it myself because when I go in the morning, I'm usually trying to prime my brain at the same time as my body. So I think what I put between my ears is really important. However, I do take the time to smile to people
Yeah.
and to say hi. And there's regulars in there that I see pretty much every day. They're there. And we've kind of got to know each other a little bit. But I agree with you. I think it is difficult. And I think people are really, really consumed. And I think just having that ability to unplug and detach, that's another thing that Dr. Ben Hardy talks about is psychological detachment. And I think for anyone listening to this, like when we have a family meal, for example, there is nothing allowed, no phones, no TV, nothing. We just talk. And I think it's so important. Otherwise you lose that. In the car, I talk to my kids. Sometimes I have to take a work call. I try not to because I want to hear about their day. Because to be honest, if you don't listen, then you've missed it. But I think you're right. And I think the importance of group classes, I think they've had a bit of a revival since COVID as well, because I think people are looking for that interaction and that sense of community that isn't there. But then I guess we have also created amazing online communities, right? So when I look at my own community, my membership, it spans across so many different countries. And I think it's really beautiful that there's women in there from so many different places. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we have to embrace technology
Well, I
to a
think
degree.
people just need to learn how to say hello. It's a 5'10"
Yes.
rule I heard years ago, 5 feet to 10 feet. If you see someone 5 feet away from you, say hello, verbal something, acknowledgement. If you see someone 10 feet away from you, wave or nod or something, acknowledgement that way,
That's
nonverbal.
good.
And I think that's a great rule to go by because I'm new here. We've lived here. It was middle 2020. We moved to San Diego, and so I didn't know anybody. And going to the gym past 2 years, and I'm social, like to meet people. So you kind of feel like you're in the gym. Those are your people because they're working out at 5:30 in the morning. And it's just something I've really noticed how it's really hard to like get someone to, like, do I talk to them because they have ear pods on? Do I say hello? And I don't need a whole conversation. I just mean like, hi, good morning, how you doing? Just small talk. But I just think I feel bad for the future generations. These kids even working out together have headphones on. So it's like, what's happening to everyone? Even they're working out together, but they're not talking to each other either. So it's just funny to me. So
Yeah.
anyways, a side note. So,
Yeah, it's a shame, I guess, isn't it? I think there's
yeah.
a balance. Yeah. But then at
Okay.
the same time, I kind of want to get my workout done. I don't always want to shout to people because it
No, I
interrupts
know.
you. Kind
So
of
balance,
everyone's busy right there
get
in
to your
and out.
business.
Yeah.
Okay, so sleeping. So have
Mm.
you found that, you have some ways to optimize your own sleep and you're so busy and you're getting up in the morning to the gym? As I work with my clients creating their sleep hygiene routine, talking about the ideal day, how to start the day, how to finish the day. What have you found working with yourself and your family and your own clients and your podcast, how to optimize sleep?
Yeah, so I have found that I think, and Huberman talks about this, the early access to light makes a huge difference. I think exercise in the morning makes a huge difference. I'm somebody who, when I go to bed, I am so tired, I just kind of conk out, which probably isn't good. My latency is quite poor.
Yeah.
But I recently have been tracking my recovery with a device called First Beat, which is really interesting because it's like an ECG device equivalent. So it's like a medical grade device that has little like gel on it, like you would have with an ECG, and it sits across the heart and it basically observes you. So you would do like a 1 day, a 3 day, or a 5 day what's the word, review, if you like, right? And assessment is the word. And what you can see in there is when you're moving, for sure, but you can toggle on between your HRV and your heart rate all day long. And you can also see how sympathetically or parasympathetically engaged you are. So this has been really insightful for me because sometimes when you're in what they would call the red, where there's a high level of sympathetic activity, it could be just that you're concentrating, right? I don't know, if I look now, maybe this would be sympathetic engagement, right? So stress is not always bad. That means you're actively engaged. But then there's times of the day where I'm focusing, like doing some research like you, I'm really enjoying it, preparing my own content, and I'll be in the green recovery.
Mm.
And what I see at night is interesting. And having looked at it with clients is that some people are very good at recovery in sleep and others are not. And they do need a little bit more work. And they wake up and they don't feel great. They don't feel refreshed, but they're not sure why. And what I can see from looking at that data is that you can measure recovery in terms of your parasympathetic, sympathetic engagement by looking at the duration of the period, but also the intensity of those metrics. So if you've got a really high reading on the graph and you're in the green and you're high up, you're getting very intense periods of recovery. And that's something that when we go back to Dr. Benjamin Hardy, he talks about this concept of psychological detachment. That to me is one of the most important things you can do if you want to enhance your recovery, because if you can't detach from what's been going on during your day, you can't get into those deep states of rest. And so that is about finding an evening routine that allows you to do that. And one of the best things is bookending your day, as you know, so writing out your top 3 priorities for the next day so that you've put them away and you don't have to carry that in your head, but also spending some time doing something you love. And body work can be great, things like foam rolling, watching something if you enjoy it with a family member. I think put blue blockers on so you're not exposing yourself to much blue light. But if you enjoy that and that's how you spend time together, I would just watch out for too stimulating activity. Reading, really good. Doing some yoga in the evening, anything that helps you really relax will help to shift your body into more of that recovery mode. But I think if you have a hangover from the day, that's when I see it impacting my clients' recovery. So like they've had a really difficult client or something, and then they're thinking about it, they're ruminating on it, and they don't get into those deep states. So that's some of it. I think certain supplements I've found, I have my favorites that I don't know about you, Debbie, but that I love and my go-tos. So we can talk about some of those. I don't know what yours are, but we may cross over.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of going on and off stuff because I'm doing, again, my mantra, more is not better, less is more. So I'm trying to cycle in. I was doing a Quicksilver protocol in January. Now I'm doing this. I did my HTMA results and I'm taking this customized supplement that's a drink mix twice a day. And I love that because it tastes good. And I don't have to take more supplements. It's by Vicon, a company out of Canada. And it's awesome, amazing, customized based on my HTMA results. So I did a podcast on it. I'm a slow oxidizer. I'm a high calcium. I'm calcium shell. Oh, you are?
Same here. I think a lot of that's to do with the emotional stuff we've been through in the last 12 months.
Yeah. So I just found this out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally believe everyone needs the HTMA test to go with their GI map and their Dutch test now and their food sensitivities and like a wheat zoomer. But I find it fascinating information, but they make customized drink supplement that you can drink based on your results. So you can make a slow oxidizer, calcium shell, low thyroid, low adrenals, and it has all the vitamins and minerals I need in it. So supplements at nighttime, I haven't taken as much, but usually like magnesium, and I'll kind of rotate them. But what are your favorites you're doing now?
So I actually have been I did an interview with Barton Scott, the founder of Upgraded Formulas. He'll
be mad because I've been doing Vicon, not their minerals.
And so I've been taking his minerals, which are nano minerals, and they've been really helping actually. I've been taking quite a bit of potassium to kind of break that. But also I find sleep-wise magnesium for sure. It's like still hands down one of my favorite ever supplements. And then sometimes I'll take ashwagandha, and then I don't like to. You can kind of become a bit acclimatized to it. So I mix it in and out with I've got a Viridian L-theanine lemon balm blend, which is really nice. I like reishi. I kind of rotate on and off these, so I don't take them all at once. I kind of just take one. I'll always take magnesium, and then I'll pair it with something, and I'll do a few months where I might take ashwagandha, then a few months where I'm taking the L-theanine with a lemon balm, and then sometimes I'll be taking like a combo of reishi and chaga, which I find really relaxing and obviously supports immune health at night. So those are kind of the things. Glycine is really good. And I think that also is helpful for balancing out when you're, as an athlete and you're having much higher levels of protein. If you're having a lot of methionine, I think having that glycine can be really good, particularly if you're not eating collagenous cuts of meat and things. So yeah, that's another good one. But I'd say those were sort of my top ones, really.
Yeah, I've been cycling in and out. And I just did a podcast, my new solo 30-minute podcast on adaptogens. And And then looking at the sleep toolkit by Huberman Lab, I did a episode on that, but just how his little sleep stack and how to rotate in and out glycine, and ashwagandha, they say too, to cycle in and out as well. So I think it is good to just not, as they said in an episode, not have to take supplements to have sleep. It's just, I like to see, how they can enhance my deep sleep and improve recovery, and, so you can wake up feeling refreshed and energized. So it's just so much of it, lifestyle habits, and not depending on, I always say you can't out supplement poor lifestyle habits. You got to do it all. Like you can't out exercise bad diet, but you can't, out supplement. So I try to rotate things in and out. And we started an evening routine doing our new sunlight and sauna. I used to have it before I moved, and I just bought a new one because I sold the old one, and then had to do stretching routine. So kind of a yoga stretch. Another, I sound like I listen to Huberman all the time, but it was Travis Elliott Yoga. They have an app, but they have a lot of free videos on YouTube, and they have sleepy time yoga and yin yoga that do at nighttime. But they did this one episode, yoga for runners at nighttime, but it was based on, again, Huberman, who's obviously impacting the world with his millions of followers, but research-based, how to improve flexibility, holding a stretch for 30 seconds, doing it 3 cycles through. So Travis Elliott Yoga that I do, they made a video workout that's just 4 stretches on my right, 4 on the left, cycle through it 3 circuits, and you do that 4 times a week. So that's what we've been doing at nighttime, but kind of brush my teeth, wash my face, do all that, have the bed all ready. So I just do it before bed. I turn on a fireplace, light a candle, and then roll into bed, and then do my gratitude journal and read my book. But it's just kind of that sleep routine to kind of end your day and then start your day. People can write in their gratitude journal if they do. I'm more the type to get up and go and start moving, doing my little stuff in the morning, get going. But but sleeping, the lifestyle habits trying to work on. But I just recorded a podcast on that too, that I said, doing too much at night, as I said earlier, more is not better, that I stressed out because I was trying to do, like go from sauna to the stretching to do this, to do that. And it's like, okay, I only have 1 hour because I go to bed at 8:00. That now this is stressing me out because I'm trying to do all these lifestyle
you go
hacks.
to bed at 8:00.
Yeah.
I could not go to bed then. I wish I could. I'm like 9:30, 10.
I know. See,
I'm still running around the kids at 8:00.
Yeah, that's the good and bad thing of I don't have children, so I don't have anyone else thrown to bed at 8:00, but Neil and I. And then I wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go work out, and then start work at 8 usually.
Love that hour.
Yeah.
So 4:30 is my favorite time, but I just don't get enough sleep because I'm kind of like 2 hours, I think, behind you. What are you reading at the moment? You mentioned reading there.
Oh, it's funny. I was reading Dr. Mindy's book on fasting like a girl, and I finished it, and then I have such poor memory, which I'm hoping that all this mineral rebalancing will improve my memory, because I have to read it again. But then I have a client that reminded me of Dr. Tom O'Brien's book called The Autoimmune Fix, because I have 2 clients of celiac, and it just got me down rabbit hole of autoimmune diseases, and started pulling out his book last night, which I've already read. But again, I forget everything. It's like, oh yeah, I remember reading that once I get into it. So that's
a lot to take in.
Really exciting book to read at nighttime.
I find, so for me, I tend to read spiritual books at night, because if I read work-based books, then that's when I struggle to sleep. And I am a big fan actually of doing a brain tap at night. I like doing brain tap just before I go to sleep, and then first thing when I wake up. Now, and if I'm really lucky, I'll do one in the afternoon.
What's a brain tell people what a brain tap is.
So brain tap is a device that you can use invented by Dr. Patrick Porter, which uses light and sound therapy alongside his, I guess it's kind of almost to reprogram your mind. I've just been recording some stuff to go on there myself. Actually, it's very, very cool and fun. And it just, honestly, he has a free app you can download, and basically it just helps change your mindset really, really quickly. There's a lot of research behind it. So that's very cool. Yeah. I enjoy that.
That'd be cool. Yeah. There's so many different devices and stuff we learned about to do. But all right. So we have last few minutes here. Big question.
I actually have a future self meditation going on there. So you can, we were talking about future self, weren't we? So,
love to do that. Okay. Last question. Big question we talked about the past year, I think. Fasted training or not. I know you interviewed, I listened to you interview Dr. Stacey Sims, and I know she told me off. I know.
I still
But
haven't stopped doing it though, because I
so
just can't eat at that time in the
I
morning.
know. So
So,
that's my whole
mm,
conversation. I keep sharing my
mhm,
podcast and I go back to Ben Greenfield's information. I've been listening to Dr. Annie Gaplin's. I'm redoing their endurance podcast they did and the fueling. And if you work out in the morning, if and this is what I do with clients, like work backwards. What did you eat the dinner before? What time did you stop eating? Do I have enough fuel in the tank in the morning? Because I'm not going to eat something. And if you're doing a harder workout, I think she talks about women need calories more than men pre-workout if they're doing more of a high intensity workout that's more glycogen depleting, like a HIIT training, CrossFit, doing her short intensity intervals that need to be like work your ass off, heart rate up super high, recover. So what have you kind of learned from your own experience and interviews you've done on your show on
I mean, I
fueling?
think the thing is, so I like Stacey's, she talks about basically mixing up a double espresso, I think, with a single or a double with a bit of unsweetened almond milk, maybe half a banana or a little bit of maple sugar and a bit of protein powder, right? So it's very, very small amount of calories, but it's enough for a kick. Personally, I can't do that at the time I work out. And the only time that if I'm going to get a workout done, it's going to be before the school run. So it's the same as you. It's like 5 a.m. and I don't feel able. I do have some caffeine and sometimes I'll have some essential amino acids. The difficulty I've found, and I don't know if any mums are listening to this, but I find it hard to refuel afterwards. So when I get back in the house, it's then time to shower, wash my hair, get ready the kids. And, actually I feel like coffee, not a protein shake or something like that, which I can grab and go. So I'm ravenous. And so it's a challenge. Do I think that my results could be a bit better if I redesign things? Probably. I notice I can lift heavier for sure when I'm pre-fueled. And I think, like mid-morning and in a perfect world, I guess I would work out at 11, but it isn't. And I do find it primes my day. I think having said that, I'm still making really good progress. I did a DEXA scan to measure this and look, what does my bone density like? What does my muscle mass look like? What does my fat look like? And actually, it was all really, really positive. I think the key thing for people listening, actually, for women in particular, is to refuel with protein and carbs soon afterwards. And for both men and women, understanding that you need between 30 and 50 grams of protein with 2.5 grams of leucine to be able to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So if you're not hitting that threshold, you're definitely not taking advantage of it. And I think while eggs are very bioavailable, you've got to eat quite a few to get what you need.
I know everyone has like 2 eggs and like it doesn't cut it.
Really going to do it. That's
no one wants to do
is
6
it?
eggs.
So yeah, you got to do quite a few. And I remember really paying attention to this. I do think there's a lot of research around the fact that if you eat within an hour of waking, it can help realign circadian rhythm. It can help with adrenal function. As you know, if you go to bed by 10:30 p.m., it can help with adrenal function. And I think that if you can refuel quite quickly, there's a lot of support for that and bringing the fasting window earlier. I think one of the hottest topics is, and I think I might have seen you talk to Dr. Mindy about it, in fact, around when do you have your carbs and how do you sleep better? We were talking about sleep. Personally, I am not a fan of not eating carbs and then dumping them all at the end of the day. I don't find that's good. It sends my blood sugar crazy. If I look at something like the Lumen device, I wake up in carb burning mode. Maybe it's women, maybe it's me, maybe it's my age, maybe it's perimenopause. It doesn't seem to work for me or a lot of members of my community. So I tend to stagger my carbs a little bit and I will have a small portion of carbs in the evening, enough to help me sleep. But I also think when we look at melatonin being produced in the evening, if you've already started producing lots of melatonin, your insulin sensitivity goes down. So I think dumping carbs just before bedtime is probably not a good idea. But that tends to be. So I try to keep it a bit earlier and I try to refuel as soon as I can with a decent amount of protein and some carbs.
It is an ongoing challenge. I mean, I discuss this on my show all the time of this whole fueling and trying this with clients too. Let's figure out how to match your fueling and training together to eat or not eat. And it depends. And I tried to make a chart for my clients recently of this week I was doing it. It's like, all right, let's just make a little graph. What time you're working out? What's the duration? What's the intensity? When did you stop eating the night before? What did you eat in that meal? And it's just so much to go into. How's your HRV today? How's your sleep? Go into all that and really personalize fueling. Now, I don't like eating beforehand, but I feel like I get to not eat, but consume calories to perform better. So I'm kind of thankful. I can put that Laird's superfood coffee creamer into my coffee and have 10 calories in it and not feel guilty. Oh, I'm breaking my fast. Cause I think we get so, not anal, but just perfectionist, like, oh, I got to just only do black coffee and I have to do fasted workout.
Exactly.
And again, go back and listen to the Dr. Andy Kaplan interview on endurance exercise for Huberman Lab and how it doesn't really matter. He said to, eat or not eat, do whatever makes you feel good. It's not what type of workout or fueling is, just, burning calories and depleting your muscle glycogen stores and tapping into fat stores. So it's fascinating to go over his research, but yeah. So listen to Dr. Stacey Sands, but then listen to Dr. Kaplan, listen to all these different people. But then it's all that N equals 1. What works best for you? Look at your day schedule, your life schedule, and so much goes into it. So, anyways, I think, having a little something, my coffee with mushrooms and having a little MCT oil in it and having a little bit, maybe the pumpkin spice creamer is from coconut oils or coconut sugar is okay for me. It made me improve my performance. So if I'm trying to hit what I've been talking about in my show, if I'm trying to hit higher speed workout interval splits on my run workout Tuesdays, if I'm trying to hit power meter on the bike intervals in my class I'm doing that's based on FTP or functional threshold, my watts want to be higher. Should I eat a little, not eat, but consume some calories in a drink to improve performance? So it depends on what is the purpose of the workout. What are you trying to get out of it? It's not about burning fat. It's about getting stronger and faster. So it goes into really specifically, what is that workout? How can you improve the outcome based on your goals?
Yeah, it's great advice. Totally. I agree.
So much to go into, but let's kind of share your podcast information, play all the links in the show notes.
Sure, I'd love to do that. So Debbie's actually been on my podcast. So it's High Performance Health. And we talk about very similar topics, I think. Through the lens, for me, it's all about high performance. I guess I have a little bit more of a business and workplace focus alongside as opposed to athletes. But it's really geared at mostly women and optimizing your hormones, your health, your longevity, your metabolism. But there's a few male-centric episodes on that as well. And then if people want to get a kind of free health check and a personalized report from me, they can do that. I have a biohacking quiz. It takes less than 60 seconds, and I'll send you a free report with some recommendations. And that is over at yourtotalhealthcheck.com.
Nice. You are busy, but I'm glad you're making time for yourself and your family and not overworking. And we come from doing what we're doing because we were burned out and broken from our previous life. And so it's just avoiding that cycle, because I think a lot of us are all these high performing individuals, type A, AAA, that we get into something we're passionate about, and then we just kind of get ourselves overworking and under recovery. So we always have to make sure we balance it all together.
For sure.
It's constant work. It's easier said than done, but we love what we do.
Indeed,
so thank you. Well, I'll let you go enjoy your weekend and go play with your family.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on the show, Debbie. I've loved it.